Did you know that AltNew provide free downloads of coloring pages? And have you wondered how to create cards with them? Well, this video is going to show you all about that. My name is Aditi and I am a part of AltNew's Educators Hop today, and we are celebrating the love for carnations. So I am going to be using this coloring page available on AltNew's website, and I will show you how I color the floral clusters using artist markers. I am using the Sunshine Valley Garden set, the pinks as well as the greens. And what I have in mind is the white carnation with pinkish purplish edges, those razor sharp edges, and that's what I want to recreate. So starting with razzleberry, I am just beginning at the tip of the petal and flicking color inwards. So in a flicking motion, I am just applying color with the brush tip of the marker. I am creating longer flick lines just to show the folds of the petal right from the edge, and then adding smaller flicks all around that to create that depth and shading that I need to. I then go in with Rubellite to just add another shade and pull those flick strokes slightly inwards. So I start with the darkest and then move to the lightest for this kind of a shading. It just works best for creating that depth. I am going to be using the colorless blender to blend all of this inwards to create that white. That will give us pink at a few places and a natural looking white, blending that entire petal, creating the flower I have in mind. I also go in with Cosmic Berry from the Rock Garden set to create that dark edge and just the folds of the petal. So just at the edge and the folds, I am going to use Cosmic Berry, pulling it inwards slightly, not too much, but that instantly adds so much more depth to the petal, creating that contrast that I need for this particular flower. So just repeating that same process after I am done with Cosmic Berry, I am going back in with Rubellite, adding another layer of color, just fine strokes, adding a little bit inwards as well, and using my colorless blender to blend that outward, and that way we have a great shaded petal. I use the colorless blender again in flicking motions as well as just stippling to create that blend that I want, so that I don't have too much pink everywhere and the white looks natural on that petal. So showing the same process on another petal, I am just choosing this bigger petal, and the lines here that already exist help us to create the highlights that we need. So I first begin with razzleberry, just going over the entire edge of the petal and the lines that we have, the folds, the crevices, to just darken that. I do this all across the petal, and when I'm happy, I begin flicking the color again inwards. Just feathered small strokes, the flicking motion, pulling it all inwards to begin adding those razor edge feather like veins and color to the flower petal. Once that looks good, I go in with the next color, Rubellite, and just add more of those flicks, outside edge going inwards, and later you will see I do the same process on the lines that begin from the inner part of the petal going outwards, just to create that depth and color there as well. And then use Cosmic Berry to darken it, and my colorless blender to blend all of that inwards. I repeat this process again at the folds and the crevices wherever I need to add a little darker edge, and slightly blending that with the colorless blender to keep it light and white with a tinge of that pink at major parts of the petal. Do you enjoy using artist markers? Do you find it therapeutic to color with artist markers? Do leave a comment below letting me know what your preferred medium for coloring usually is, and stay tuned because at the end of this video I am showing you a different version of the same floral cluster that I colored with the watercolor brush markers, and I think the result is quite different yet stunning. Like I mentioned before, this is a video hop, so do begin at Alt News channel, watch the video, like and subscribe, leave a comment, hop along onto each designer's video. There's tons of inspiration waiting for you all using carnations as the focal point. Do like and subscribe to each designer's video if you like their content. Leave a comment to enter the fabulous giveaway hosted by AltNew, a chance to win a voucher so you can shop for AltNew goodies. Back at my coloring, you can clearly see I do this slowly, step by step. I take my time with each color, flicking it. I take my time blending everything with the colorless blender. And this is something that you definitely need patience with. So I spent good amount of time just coloring these floral images because to me this process itself is very therapeutic and relaxing, and I do it slowly, enjoying each and every part of it, building layers of color. So I don't just stop once like you would have already noticed. I go back in with the same color, building it, adding those flicks, and stopping when I feel like I have achieved the perfect shades, the blends, the depth, and the highlights that I need. Now I am going to speed up this coloring process and leave you all with a little music to just sit back and relax and watch how I finish coloring this particular flower. Now for the leaves and the stem, I am going to be using the Tropical Garden set. So I begin with bamboo, laying a light layer of color, and then I go in with olive, just again in the flicking motions, adding a little more darker shade. I then go back in with bamboo, just blending the two nicely together, creating a little shading and depth here and there with these two colors. Once I'm happy with that, I am using this other green from the Sunshine Valley garden set and adding a little more depth right at the edges, the tips, that further enhances and creates more gradation and natural shading on my stem of the flower. So I repeat that same process on all the stems and the leaves, just alternating between these three greens, creating shading and highlights and depth here and there. Now here is a look at the entire floral cluster colored. So for the second flower, which is all pink, I have used Cosmic Berry for my darkest layer, but apart from that I have used Pink Diamond, Pinkalicious, Rubellite and Razzleberry from Sunshine Valley garden set to create multiple layers with the pink. And the topmost flower, I began with Purple Wine and went back in with Pinkalicious, Pink Diamond, and I brought in some Vanilla Cream from the Water Garden set for that contrast. Now I am going to fussy cut this entire floral cluster and have it ready to lay out on my card. So for my card front, I am going to be using black cardstock and I decided to create a slimline card. So here I have a piece of black cardstock cut to 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I want to use the Mod Squares 3D embossing folder to emboss it. Although it is a slimline panel, I will just place that right in the center, run that through my die cut machine, avoid running it through the entire folder and then removing it and flipping it and embossing on the other side. I do have a slight line, but that really doesn't matter once it's all on the card. Now this part of the video unfortunately didn't record, so I used the metallic watercolors from Altnew and this shade of gold and pink and just added splatter on that black embossed panel. And I'm using Enchanted Gold pigment ink directly, just inking the edges of my paper to create a nice gold frame which will create nice contrast when placed on my card base. So with that on my white card base, now I am just adhering this entire floral cluster onto that card base, and I think the colors really pop up on black, creating that drama. I did cut out the sentiment from the same coloring page and I have just adhered it on black cardstock, created a banner shape on one end, and I am using foam tape to add that to my card. And for finishing touches, I am going to be using this antique gold sequence, adding that in threes and creating a sense of movement across the entire card. With that done, the card is complete and you can see the showstopper definitely is all that gorgeous coloring of the floral clusters, and I think it looks fantastic on that black background, making everything pop up. Now here is a different version I promised. So this particular cluster is colored with the Altnew watercolor brush markers. I have used Emerald and Sweet Leaf for the leaves, and I have used Midnight Violet, Purple Wine and Sea Breeze for the flowers, and just done loose watercoloring and matted my card front on some holographic paper and then black cardstock to complete that. So these are the two different looks with the same coloring paper, different sizes and different mediums. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do like, share and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hop along to enter to win fabulous prizes. Until the next time, take care and bye-bye.